is Lisa from Mobile Tech Review, and today we're going to look at the Lenovo IdeaPad U310. This is Lenovo's latest Ultrabook, and yes, it's pretty in pink, but don't worry, you can also get it in blue or gray. And then it has their signature book design, very pretty. We're going to look at it now. Lenovo IdeaPad U310 is Lenovo's second generation Ultrabook, and as I said, it's available in 3 colors. And in person, it's really kind of tasteful, metallic, understated, and they call it cherry blossom pink. You can choose aqua blue, which likewise is not too wild and crazy a color, but it's a nice subtle blue with a metallic finish like this has, or you can just go for gray. No matter what, you're going to get white and silvery insides on it, which gives a nice contrast, and it shows off the Lenovo book design that they use for their Ultrabooks. Real pretty looking thing. It's metal everywhere, it's aluminum, solid. One drawback is it's heavy. It's actually heavier than the last generation U310S. This guy weighs 3.7 pounds, so as Ultrabooks go, that's kind of heavy for a 13.3-inch model. It is, however, strongly built, feels nice in the hand. And if we take a look at the underside, you can see one continuous piece of metal here, lots of vent holes, rubber feet that help keep it off the desk so you get a little bit of ventilation flow here, and not intended to be taken apart or upgraded, which is pretty much typical for most Ultrabooks on the market. The white hinge here offers a little point of visual contrast. If you look at the front edge, you can see there's that nice book-like design. You have wireless and charging LEDs. This is your SD card slot right here. This side has most of the ports. You've also got your exhaust vent here. It does not blow extremely hot heat, so it's not bad. This is the Lenovo one key recovery button. Creative location for it here. Usually it's up on the keyboard deck, but we've got it over here. Full-size Ethernet jack, gigabit Ethernet. That's nice. You don't need a dongle adapter as you do with some other smaller and lighter Ultrabooks. Full-size HDMI port likewise. 2 USB 3.0 ports right here. And on the other side we have one legacy USB 2.0 port. It's your charging port, and there's your combo headphone mic jack right there. And as we take a look inside, you can see pretty much white interior surfaces. It's attractive looking enough, and I wouldn't say that that's overly feminine, just nice looking. So far it's been pretty dirt resistant, but well, we've only had it a couple of weeks. I don't know what happens after a couple of months or a couple of years. 13.3-inch gloss panel. This is standard 1366 by 768 resolution. There are no high-res options. There's no matte option here. And this is your typical TN panel, which means viewing angles as you move it front backward are pretty limited. You just find the sweet spot where you get the best contrast and brightness and leave it at that. The side viewing angles, those are pretty good, which is typical of TN panels. So as Ultrabooks go, most all of them having just okay TN panels. This one is about as good as all the others. Where it falls behind a little bit is brightness. It's definitely less bright than many other Ultrabooks on the market. So if you want to use this guy outdoors, between the gloss, which isn't too glary by the way, and the low brightness, it's not the best pick. It does tend to fade in very bright lighting. It has about 170 nits of maximum brightness. That's not too high. If we're looking at something like the Dell XPS, you're talking about 250 to 260 nits. And then there's the new ZenBook Prime that we recently looked at, which has 350 nits of brightness, super duper bright. As with most Lenovo products, one of the selling points is the keyboard here. Nice, roomy keyboard, and given how relatively thin this device is at 0.7 inches, there's a decent amount of key travel here. Now it's not going to be the same as using a ThinkPad or a bigger IdeaPad product because well, they're more hyped for key travel here, but it feels pretty good to type on. Keys are nice and roomy. This shift key here is undersized, might drive some of you crazy, but other than that it's pretty nice. No FN key needed to work the function keys up here to control volume and brightness and all that kind of stuff. One big drawback to my mind though is it's not backlit keyboard. There is no option to get a backlit keyboard with this either. Another thing we like is this big roomy Synaptics trackpad, glass trackpad. It just feels nice. You just want to run your finger across it, and it responds very well too. Works for multi-touch gestures. It's pretty predictable as Windows trackpads goes. Behaves pretty well. Not up there with the MacBook Pro trackpad under OS X, but it's pretty darn good. It's buttonless, so yes, it does click, but there's no discrete buttons there. Machine runs on 3rd generation Ivy Bridge Intel ULV processors, Right now there is no i7 option. I assume that will be coming later. This is running on a 1.7 gigahertz Intel Core i5 ULV CPU, and that's the same thing that's used in other 3rd gen Ultrabooks, like, again, the ZenBook Prime. There is a Core i3 option on some of the cheaper models. I really don't recommend it. Core i5 ULV is about as slow as you want to go. The good news is you get Intel HD 4000 integrated graphics, and the HD 4000 graphics are, well, way faster than HD 3000 graphics using last generation of Intel ULV machines on Ultrabooks and regular mobile. So you get definitely better graphics performance. This scored 2231 on 3D Mark Vantage, which is a great improvement over the 1350 that we saw on the U300. Now you're not going to be playing Skyrim in high detail on this, but it's going to make everything else that uses the graphics card, including Aero, that much snappier. You get a little bit better performance out of Photoshop, video playback, and if you are playing games, as say some demanding 3D games, really, Ultrabooks aren't the best choice for that, but you can do it on low settings with some of today's games, if you don't mind low settings and, well, keeping it at a maximum of the native 1366 by 768 resolution. The machine has 4 gigs of DDR3 RAM, and that's soldered on the motherboard. It's not upgradable. And one of the reasons why this guy is more affordable than some other Ultrabooks, it starts at $799 rather than the usual around $1,000 price point, is it has a conventional spinning hard drive. It has a 500 gig, 5400 RPM hard drive. The good news is obviously you get a lot more space than with a 128 gig SSD kind of model, but you're obviously sacrificing performance. Now Lenovo has a 32 gig flash drive in here to speed up performance. It's not accessible to you under Windows. It's just there for caching Windows, the hibernation partition, and things like that. And it does make for pretty quick boot times and resume times. So it's not like you're going to sit there and say, oh my god, it takes forever for this to boot up. It's not that bad at all. It's certainly faster than your conventional spinning hard drive without any flash-based memory assistance, though not quite as fast as a pure SSD solution. Of course, when you have a pure SSD, everything is fast that you launch from the hard drive. All your applications will be fast. With this, it's only those things that the machine is caching, which again is pretty much Windows, the built-in utilities, that kind of stuff. That conventional hard drive brings down performance on PC Mark Vantage. We typically see 10,000 or above on Ultrabooks, and it's not because they have such brilliant CPUs. They don't compare to the full mobile CPUs used in bigger notebooks, but it's because of those SSD drives. Now, this guy only scores about 8,000 on PC Mark Vantage, because it doesn't have the benefit of that fast SSD speeding up everything. And here you can see our Windows experience scores, which we always take with a grain of salt, but they give you a ballpark idea of how it compares to other machines. And we've got 6.9 for the CPU, 5.9 for memory, 4.9 for graphics for Aero, 6 for graphics for gaming, again, a little optimistic there, but hey, and 5.9 for the hard disk, which is typically what we see for a spinning hard drive. The machine has single-band Intel Wi-Fi 802.11 BGN with Intel WiDi wireless display, and there's a little icon right on the desktop there to get you going. If you have something like Netgear's push to TV device, you can wirelessly stream to your HDMI TV, kind of handy. Of course, it has that HDMI port for those of you who still prefer wires. And it does not come with Bluetooth. Bluetooth is listed as optional, but right now there is no configure to order option for Bluetooth. Maybe that'll be coming. So it's a little bit weird to not be able to use a Bluetooth mouse, kind of those things we've become accustomed to with many Ultrabooks. Other features are 1 megapixel webcam right up here with a built-in microphone, and Dolby Home Theater Audio V4. And in fact, this does get pretty loud and it sounds pretty full for an Ultrabook, and we'll play something so you can hear that soon. There's a 3-cell battery sealed inside. Again, typical of most Ultrabooks, you can't access the battery. And Lenovo claims around 7 hours, and I would say, it depends on how you use it, of course, but we've been averaging around 5.5 to 6.25 hours with average use. That is web, email, some flash video playback, social networking, that kind of thing. If you're going to spend the whole time streaming YouTube video or Netflix or something like that, expect shorter run times. If you're going to be doing something intensive like trying to edit video or doing lots of heavy Photoshop work, again, that's going to shorten your battery life somewhat. Speaking of video editing, I always say if you're going to do HD video editing day in and day out, an Ultrabook really isn't the best choice. You want some dedicated graphics there if you can get them, and i7 processors, particularly quad-core, which you're not going to find. There is no such thing as a quad-core ULV CPU. But for casual editing, your family movies here and there, yeah, you can do it. It's going to take a while for it to export, but you can do it, no problem. Alright, now we're going to compare the U310 to the gorilla in the room, which some of you might think, aha, she's talking about the MacBook Air. No, I'm not. I'm talking about the Asus ZenBook Prime UX31 over here, which is Asus's latest Ultrabook, and I think it's going to be the one to beat. Now, this guy does cost more. This costs $10.99, although I've been seeing it on sale for $9.99 already, but still it costs a bit more. The big selling point here is that 1080p matte display. It isn't just a high-resolution display, it has better colors, about 72% color gamut there. And you can see the difference right now. We've got Windows Media Player running on both, and with the higher resolution, look how much more desktop you have around on the ZenBook compared to here. And also look at the level of detail in the picture itself of the hydrangeas. This kind of, well, a lot of the detail just disappears on it, and the colors are a little bit skewed towards the blue instead of that kind of, it should be a little bit more purpley, like you see over there. So quite a difference in displays. The ZenBook is also thinner, made of metal as well, just like the Lenovo is, and it weighs 2.86 pounds, so it's just a pound lighter than the Lenovo. So that's what you get if you're going to spend more money and shop around for different brands. And here's how they look close. And you can see the ZenBook is a lot thinner in the front. They're about the same at the rear, though. That tapering design is really very effective if we stack them on top of each other. Give you more of an idea. Now, to be fair, Lenovo is going after the budget end of the pricing spectrum there versus the ZenBook Prime, so hey, for $7.99, this really is a nice notebook. Really solid build, very good looking. Good keyboard, wish it was backlit, nice trackpad. So there's a lot going for this, especially for the price. And God knows if Lenovo starts putting some stackable coupons on this thing, well, you get even cheaper. So we're just playing one of the standard Windows Media tracks, and you can hear them pretty loud. Now, these are not the most compelling tracks, so we'll check out some YouTube next so you can hear the volume, but overall it's pretty good. And then we'll check out some video playback, and we'll use one of our video reviews so you can hear it. Would love to show you some movie trailers, but copy rules these days just really don't allow us to do that. So we'll move it up to 720p since that's what the display can show. So obviously it plays Adobe Flash just fine, doesn't get the fan running or anything like that either, and speakers are pretty good.
12-megapixel camera and a lot of other good stuff too. We're going to take a look at it now. So this is the Sony Xperia.
Speaking of fan and temperature, you won't hear the fan much on this at all. It's pretty hard to stress it out to get to the point where you're going to hear that fan whining. Otherwise, it's just a baseline, very quiet fan, and really no heat to speak of here. We couldn't pass 80 degrees Fahrenheit on the keyboard even when we've been streaming Flash videos for half an hour. And the bottom stays relatively cool too, which is pretty impressive since it's a metal bottom and metal does transfer heat pretty directly to you. Nothing reached higher than about 90 degrees Fahrenheit on the bottom, as a matter of fact. That's quite cool. So that's the Lenovo IdeaPad U310. It's available now in your choice of cherry blossom pink, aqua blue, or stayed gray. Comes with a i5 ULV 3rd generation CPU clocked at 1.7 gigahertz, 4 gigs of DDR3 RAM, and a conventional 500 gig hard drive that's augmented with a 32 gig flash drive to cache and speed things up, just a caching drive. It has Wi-Fi 802 BGN with Intel WiDi, a 1 megapixel webcam, and 3 USB ports, 2 of which are USB 3.0. If you're looking for value in an Ultrabook and really nice build quality, certainly this offers it. It's $7.99, really nice build quality, and a good selection of ports too. We like that full-size Ethernet port, probably really useful for students who are going to walk into a classroom, maybe have to plug into a jack, and business travelers as well. Full-size HDMI port means never having to say, I forgot my micro HDMI adapter. And you've got enough USB ports on here that you won't be needing a hub all the time. I'm Lisa from Mobile Tech Review. Visit our website for the full review of the U310, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel.